Hello class, today we're going to cover our last section for this chapter. So Unit 1, Chapter 1, Section 5, Angle Relationships. And our objectives today are to identify and use special pairs of angles and to identify perpendicular lines. So let's get started. Right away we have some definitions to jump into. So adjacent angles. Two angles are adjacent angles if and only if they share a common side and have no interior points in common. So let's go ahead and we're going to draw some adjacent angles. So I need to put some labels in here. Q is going to be our vertex, P, T, and N. Okay, so we're going to talk about two different angles here. So angle PQT. So I'm just going to highlight that in blue for you. And we're going to do another one, angle TQN, which is going to be TQN right there, are adjacent. They have one common side. All right, remember, if it takes you a little bit longer to do the drawings, go ahead and pause the presentation and stop to draw it, or you can always rewind. All right, linear pair. Two angles form a linear pair if and only if they are adjacent angles and their non-common sides form a straight line. All right, so let's go ahead and do a diagram with this. We know that we're going to have a straight line and that they're going to be adjacent angles. So we need to put some labels in. Oh, give me a moment. My smartboard needs to reset. M, we're going to call the vertex N. Out here is our W, and then down here is our V. So here we have two angles that we're going to talk about. And so we're going to talk about angle M and W. So M and W. And if we add that to our other angle, W and V, so W and V, when you add those together, they equal our 180 degrees. So those form a linear pair. All right, the third one we're going to talk about is vertical angles. Two angles are vertical angles if and only if they are non-adjacent angles formed by two intersecting lines. So vertical angles, here we're going to draw two lines through. So now we've created four angles. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 angles. And if we look here, they are going to be congruent. Our angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Those are our angles right here because they are vertical angles. And angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because those are vertical angles here. So those are going to be congruent, so their measurements are going to be the same. All right, a couple more definitions we need to talk about before we can get on to some work. Complementary angles. Two angles are complementary if and only if the sum of their measures are 90 degrees. Remember, sum means add. One angle is the complement of the other. So we'll ask for what is the complement. Supplementary angles. Two angles are supplementary if and only if the sum, again, that's addition, of their measures is 180 degrees. One angle is the supplement of the other. So let's see how that works by looking at this little chart down here. For each angle measurement listed below, give the measurement of the measure of the supplementary angle and the measure of the complementary angle if one exists. And that says if one exists because if our measurement is greater than 90, obviously there's not going to be a complement because the two can't add together to give us 90. So let's go ahead and look at our first one. Our angle is 25, so we want to find the complement. So we're going to take 90 minus 25. So we find a complement of 65 degrees. And the supplement has to add to 180. So we're going to take 180 and minus our 25, which is our angle. And so our supplement here is 155 degrees. So in the complement, we're just going to take 90 and minus whatever our measurement is. In supplement, we're going to take 180 and minus that measurement. Don't forget when you actually find them that you need to label them with a degree symbol. All right, so I want you guys to go ahead and finish this chart for tomorrow so we can have a little discussion on that. All right, so looking at the sketch below, we're going to answer questions 1, 2, and 3. All right, so one says name a pair of vertical angles. In here there are two sets of vertical angles, and so I'm going to label one and then I want you to come up with the second one. So if I look here for vertical angles, the first one I see that matches is going to be V, angle V, XW, and the one that goes with that is the other one that is 120 degrees, and that one is going to be angle ZXY. All right, so I gave you one set of vertical angles. You find the other set. Okay, how many pairs of vertical angles are in this diagram? Well, if I told you I gave you one, you have to find another set. Obviously, that means that we have two sets or two pairs of vertical angles. All right, name two angles that form a linear pair. Your job is to do this problem for tomorrow. Find just one set that form a linear pair. I came up with 4 different sets, so you are probably going to have a different answer than your neighbor. But we'll see about that tomorrow. All right, to the back side of our notes, we're going to do some problems here that have a bunch of different things to deal with complements and supplements and linear pairs, etc. So the degree of measure of an angle is 3 times the measure of its supplement. Find the measure of each angle. Well, there's no drawing for this one, so I'm going to start off by making a drawing. And when it talks about supplement, I'm thinking 180 degrees. So I know that these are going to form a linear pair, which means a straight line, and somewhere in there is an angle. So the degree measure of an angle is 3 times the measure of its supplement. So the bigger one we're going to call 3x, and the smaller one x. 3 times x gives us our measurement. Okay, and those two together is going to equal our 180 degrees. So x plus 3x equals 180 degrees. So 3x and x gives me 4x. And now we're just solving simple equations. Divide both sides by 4. So our x is going to be 45 degrees. And so we also need to make sure that we're answering the full question. It says find the measure of each angle. So I found one, and now my supplement, if I plug in my 45 in for my x there, 3 times 45 finds the supplement of 135 degrees. So there's my 2 answers that my problem was looking for. All right, if we look at problem 5, it says the degree measure of that should be 1, my apologies, of the 2 complementary angles is 6 more than twice the other angle. Find the measurement of each angle. All right, so let's talk about complementary angles. So we know we're going to start with 90 degrees, and somewhere in the middle is going to be a break. So I'm going to give you guys this to do for tonight and come back with for tomorrow. I've got your drawing started. You just need to figure out what each measurement is equal to. All right, 6 and 7, we're going to look at the same diagram, but the measurements are going to be slightly different. So let's do 6 together. Given the measure of angle 2 is 120 degrees, so I'm going to label 120 degrees, and the measure of angle 4 is 2x plus 40 degrees, so 2x plus 40. Find x. Well, I know that these two are right directly across from each other, so that makes these vertical angles, so they're congruent, so I can set them equal to each other. And all I have to do with this one is solve for x. So I'm just solving a simple equation that we did lots of last year, so we're really good at these. Oops. I forgot to minus my 40. So we have 80. So we divide both by 2, and my x is equal to 40 degrees. All right, and so did I answer my problem? It says find x. Great. All right, 7 is going to be on your own for tomorrow. And you guys are very competent. You can figure out 7 using the same diagram. All right, 8. Again, I'm going to have you guys give 8 a try, very similar to our last couple problems. All right, so now we're getting to those perpendicular lines that we said in our objectives. All right, perpendicular. 2 lines are perpendicular if and only if the lines form right angles. So the symbol for perpendicular lines is this upside down capital T. As you can see, we create ourselves some right angles there. Perpendicular lines will form 4 right angles because if we have lines, they technically are going on infinitely, And so we have just created 4 right angles. And so I can say that L is perpendicular to M. All right, so perpendicular lines intersect to form how many sets of adjacent angles? Remember, adjacent share one side, so I want you guys to count those up and see if you can come up with the correct answer for tomorrow. All right, then that leads us to problem 9. Problem 9 says find x and y so that PR and SQ are perpendicular. So your job tonight is to find x and y. And this one, I have confidence in you. Put your thinking caps on and come up with our answer for tomorrow. We'll see you then.